Steely Dan, The Royal Scam, right now on States and Kingdoms. Welcome back to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about Steely Dan's album, The Royal Scam, from 1976. Now, we did take a day off.
Sort of.
We did sort of take a day off.
Well, apparently one of us can't handle feeling under the weather.
It was me.
No, actually, it was really me. But,
Post-Christmas blues.
we were gonna do Per Ubu, but apparently one of us can't even handle talking about a short little album like that.
Me.
No, again, that was me. But so we missed one.
We missed a day.
We owe everybody.
But we haven't talked about Steely Dan in a while.
A really long time.
It's been a while. But I mean, a little background with me and Steely Dan. And you and Steely Dan.
All right, let me just stop you, because I don't care. They don't care.
I want to tell my story.
Okay.
So, I first was aware of Steely Dan. I mean, obviously on classic rock radio, I knew the songs. Mm-hmm. But I never felt compelled to listen to a full album. And, this wasn't an album. This wasn't a band that our parents listened to.
Right.
This wasn't something that we heard growing up outside of the radio. But, so their album came out, that album called...
Two Against Nature.
Yep, thank you. I'm thinking Everything Must Go. So Two Against Nature came out, and I remember Cousin Dupree on the radio, and I was intrigued. I liked the song. I wasn't sure why, because it's Creep Town, but it's funny, and so I was really drawn to that song, and then I just thought, well, after doing a little bit of light reading, that I should start with Aja, and I started with Aja, and the rest is history.
I remember.
Good.
I'll see your memory.
Good start.
And I'll raise you one of mine. I remember you listening to Steely Dan, and I thought, no. No, I will not.
I will not go there.
Strangely enough, it was Gaucho that actually kind of intrigued me. That's really is a mystery to me.
Gaucho, got you.
But Babylon Sisters, Hey 19, they're just so catchy. And there's something about the sound of that record that is still fascinating to me. But it really wasn't until then I heard Countdown to Ecstasy, yeah. And that hooked me. That album hooked me. So even though I don't pick favorites at all, but that's sort of a sentimental favorite, because that is the album that I just...
Yeah, you love that.
Yeah, I listen to that a lot. But that's sort of the thing about Steely Dan, is that why sometimes when we talk about them here now, it's I'm still kind of in the dark about why we like them so much. Why
do I even like this?
For not just me, but you as well. When we were kids, I was saying, in the 90s, 70s rock was a lot of 70s rock. I just passed right over. There were. You listen to things that were around in the 90s, and then if you wanted something cool, you had to go back to the 60s, basically. That's the way we both were, basically, going back to, the Beatles or Jimi Hendrix or Cream or whatever it was, kind of just passed over a lot of the 70s stuff.
In my mind, a lot of it was 70s soft rock, or easy listening, country rock. Yeah. So Eagles, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, I don't want to name names because I'm sure you guys love those people, but yeah. So I did. I passed over a lot of those bands, which I obviously can listen to now.
Dad had a couple of Weather Report CDs, and I did listen to those, and I liked them, but still, it was that's nice. I'm not going to listen to that.
Yeah, it wasn't something I got really into.
So it really wasn't my thing, and then for some reason, Gaucho of all things grabs my attention. I still don't totally understand, except for the fact that it is just awesome music.
Yeah, it's perfection.
I can say that. I know that objectively. Steely Dan is just awesome. Yeah, perfect music.
I mean, it's amazing rhythms, beautiful melodies, ridiculous chord constructions and sequences, and really fun, intelligent lyrics. I don't know what else. What else do you want?
I think the last album we reviewed was Katy Lied.
Yeah, probably.
So this is nice. It's nice. It's in sequence. Katy Lied and this, they're pretty close. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty close sounding. I wouldn't say there's no progression from Katy Lied. I don't know what progression you need to hear exactly.
I never said that.
I thought you said that.
I would never say that because I do hear it changes from Katy Lied to this, which is the natural. It's very natural.
But they're close. They are close.
They're close, but I wouldn't say they're like the songs are interchangeable. I wouldn't say that.
No, well, I didn't say that.
Okay, good. Well, I wouldn't say that either.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I didn't say it.
So we've established that the songs are interchangeable. I would say the Royal Scam does occupy an interesting position for Steely Dan. I mean, before Aja, after Katy Lied, which is a pretty beloved album by everyone except them.
Right.
You can hear they are perfecting what they want, their idea of what their albums should be.
Right. It's being refined.
It's getting closer.
Focusing.
I mean, we were talking when you saw them, and they did whole albums.
Right. 2015, Beacon Theater. They played Aja and hits.
Right, but they did a night
for that residency,
Scam,
and they did Gaucho.
They didn't go before that.
They did not.
You can kind of feel that when you listen to them talk. That
right. This is where they click in, and like these are the albums that they're most proud of, where they're really doing exactly what they want to do.
I feel like Katy Lied would be one of those albums if they actually would listen to it. I suppose I feel like this album has gotten passed over a little bit. I mean, I don't think it gets. It's not as talked about as Pretzel Logic. Certainly not as much as Aja. It's not as detested as Gaucho is. Obviously. I mean, Gaucho gets like negative attention from some people.
So weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is it's not an outlier, but it's got a sound of its own. It's definitely a little funkier.
It is funky.
They're really kind of refining that rhythm section, and there's more guitar on this album than there would be.
Yeah.
Some phenomenal guitar, of course.
Yeah, I would say there's really like no traces of that more like folky country tinged thing.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of gone.
Yeah.
And the funkiness is in, and moving more toward a little bit of that like classical jazziness.
I mean, songs like the Fez is dancey. It's it's not disco to me, but it is dancey. A lot of this is like soul, funk, but definitely soul. Like it definitely got that feel, and the jazz stuff that's always there. I mean, it's always there. And yet the narratives are very strong. Mm-hmm. On except for maybe the Fez, on every song, there is, and I mean I said once that their songs are like, their lyrics are like overheard conversations. It's like these are stories. You don't know every particular, but they are stories. You know that they're singing about someone. This person is, and you wonder about, what's going on, what's happening, and Don't Take Me Alive. I mean, that's definitely about someone.
Yeah.
It just never quite, it's never specified.
It's not fully fleshed out, but why would you want it to be?
It does allow it to hover between, of course, I mean, a realistic narrative and a kind of metaphorical one, I suppose. Right. I mean, it's just so effective. And on this album, I think the lyrics are they seem less personal. I don't know if I'd stand by that, because there are definitely personal things.
But yeah.
But there's some really interesting lyrics.
Every song seems like a different fictional account of something, or fictionalized account. Like every single song feels different. It's almost like a book of short stories.
Yeah, I don't necessarily sit down and really analyze lyrics. I let it just kind of come to me.
Yeah, the ones I hear.
And I do think about it. and I don't really want to go into that here, but I have looked up like people discussing what Steely Dan lyrics are about, and it's usually really entertaining.
It is.
And I think often enough that there are people that are right. That's probably what that song's about. It's
They're like
not
puzzles.
Yeah, but in an interesting way. Because it is, I guess you could say, less poetic and more narrative. It is like piecing a story together. Mm-hmm. Rather than like what's the emotion of the singer?
It's like
it's actually what happened.
Clues. Yeah, you get a whole bunch of clues and you piece it together and then.
So I do like looking at those things and but is that one thing we were talking about their progress? We've said this before. I think I don't believe I'll put it another way. A lot of musicians, they progress because they're learning things and they're developing and they're writing more and more songs and they're just getting better at it. Yeah, I don't really think that's what you hear at Steely Dan. I think they knew what they basically wanted to do, and then they would just figure out in the studio how to make the record they really wanted to make.
Yeah, they're
as far as
pros.
how it sounded.
Right.
I don't feel like you're hearing them becoming experimenting or becoming like it pretty much is exactly. I mean, from the first album, it's like there it is, and now they're just gonna refine it the whole way, and until they refine it to a point that I guess some people didn't care for. But I mean,
yeah, it's refinery. I 100%.
I'm sure I know there are people that for whom this is their favorite Steely Dan album, or they think this is sort of the pinnacle of Steely Dan. In a way that's kind of fair, because there are things on this album that they really didn't do again that they had done for 3 records.
No, in a lot of ways it feels in between. It really does feel like it's a turning point.
Yeah.
For them to go into this kind of like final destination.
The crazy thing is that these albums all were a year apart.
I know. They refined fast.
Can you imagine anyone now doing these albums? I mean, that's a little ridiculous.
I can't imagine music now.
That's true. I don't know why it takes so long to make things that stink.
I think it's too easy.
Anyway.
Steely Dan had to walk to the studio.
Yeah, right. They walked miles to the studio every day. As always, you can say this about every Steely Dan record. The musicianship is perfect. The production is really perfect. Everything is exactly in its place, balanced.
Precision.
They sound amazing.
I don't know if I would recommend this as like a first album.
I don't know what I'd ever recommend.
For Steely Dan's tough. I mean, Aja was a good entryway for me, but I don't know if that would work. I don't know if other people would hear Aja and then be able to go to Countdown to Ecstasy and
well, it really
like
depends.
It too.
I mean, if they like jazzy things, then maybe. If they really like more rock stuff, but then why did I like Gaucho? That doesn't.
Why are we talking about you again?
It's all about me. I would recommend this album certainly to guitar players. Obviously, the guitar on this is some of the most important guitar work of at least the 70s. If you wanna go there, it's really of all time. I mean, Larry Carlton, of course, is extremely famous. Still, I mean, all of his guitar work is still very well remembered, and and it is amazing. It is amazing. I mean, it fits in perfectly with Steely Dan. It's smooth. It sounds incredible. It's just impeccable.
Yeah,
impeccable
the
playing.
Precision is just
and not just Larry Carlton. I mean,
everything.
All the guitar on this is fantastic.
Mistakes were not tolerated.
Yeah. So I would recommend it for guitar players.
Thank you so much for watching our brief discussion of The Royal Scam. Let us know what you think of this album in the comments below. Please make sure to stay tuned for more videos here at Stacey Kingdom's Wednesdays and Fridays. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.